Jay wrote Coming to Age 1, Coming to Age 2. I had no input at all on those records. When I showed up, it was a piece of paper. Remember this, do your thing. It's like, okay, cool. You go through them records, you're not going to see my name. You go to any other record that Malik Cox is on, the real MC is involved. So I don't know where that narrative came from. Beans is the main one that got me like, fam, you doing that much drugs you don't remember being in the studio with me? Are you set? You bugging. Like,
Memphis Bleek ain't letting this slide no more. He just fired back at Dame Dash over that messy ghostwriting rumor. And honestly, this might be the realest we've ever seen Bleek. You know it's one thing when fans or trolls talk slick on the internet, but when somebody who helped build Rockefeller talk slick, that's a different kind of disrespect. This all popped off after Dame Dash went on his usual tear, this time bringing up Memphis Bleek's name and saying that Jay-Z used to write Bleek's rhymes. Not only that, but Beanie Sigel apparently co-signed that same story. Now Bleek ain't letting that slide. Bleek said flat out, Jay wrote Coming to Age 1 and 2. I had no input. That was my intro. Cool. But after that, I wrote everything. And here's the kicker. Bleek came with them receipts. Bleek came with them ASCAP credits, publishing splits, and said that if Jay-Z had really been writing his bars, he wouldn't be getting any publishing checks. Bleek said, if Jay wrote my rhymes, I wouldn't be receiving no publishing checks. It don't make no sense. This ain't just a clapback, y'all. This is a man defending his pen, his pride, and his legacy. And the fact that he had to come for Dame and Beans, that says a lot about how deep this cut goes. We got a lot to get into on this one. From Dame and Bleek's rocky relationship, to Beanie Sigel throwing salt, and to how all this ties back to the homie Jay-Z. Don't go nowhere. Let's break this all the way down.
Another thing that they was going around, Dame started it. He said, you don't write your own rhymes. He said, Jay used to write for you, and I heard Beanie say that too.
I want to know why I never went triple platinum then. Why I ain't follow up them Jay sales? If Jay wrote these records, why the publisher checks come to me? I should have ASCAP send these people my record breakdown. They could see that 475 records and all the splits. And now I understand, like on Tidal, it actually shows credits. If I wrote something for somebody, even if you my man, nah, dog, I need my PC. Jay wrote Coming to Age 1, Coming to Age 2. I had no input at all on those records. When I showed up, it was a piece of paper. Remember this, do your thing. It's like, okay, cool. You go through them records, you're not going to see my name. You go to any other record that Malik Cox is on, the real MC is involved. So I don't know where that narrative came from. Beans is the main one that got me like, fam, you doing that much drugs you don't remember being in the studio with me? Are you set? You bugging. Like, Dame was never in the studio with us, so he wouldn't have a clue. Beans, come on. You was in the studio with us every single day. We spent about 20 years in Baseline. And Jay wrote my rhymes, but you never saw it. Come on. I saw a ghost once too then.
So when you say he wrote Coming to Age 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you ever want him to write for you?
Right now. Give me a verse right now. Put me back on, baby. Let's get lit. You kidding me, man? Like, when you want somebody to do something for you or ask for that, you're giving away. It's the same thing as giving away your money. Like, you're publishing. That's the only way we really made money. A lot of us rappers never recoup the budgets we spent on these albums, so your publishing is the only way you make money. And Ja taught me about publishing. So if Jay wrote my rhymes, like I said, I wouldn't be receiving no publishing checks. It don't make no sense. The rhymes he write, I get paid for? How?
Look, this ain't the first time Dame Dash and Memphis Bleek had tension. Their relationship been shaky for years, and it's honestly surprising it took this long for things to explode publicly. Dame been throwing little jabs at Bleek in interviews, but this ghostwriting stuff, that's different. That ain't no small diss. That's challenging a man's skill, his authenticity, and everything he built his name on. Now let's keep it a buck. When Dame said Jay used to write for you, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that would hit a nerve. But what makes it even worse is that he said it like it was a fact. like Bleek was just some tag-along with no pen game at all. That's wild when you think about it. Now, Bleek did admit that Jay-Z wrote Coming of Age 1 and 2, but he said that was a part of the process. Jay-Z wrote the script, Bleek performed it, but that's how Jay-Z introduced him to the world. And Bleek broke it down clear as day when he said, if Jay-Z wrote these records, why the publishing checks come to me? See, Bleek ain't guessing. Bleek knows the splits. He said his name is Malik Cox and it's on 475 records. That's not a fluke. That's hard work. But what makes this hit different is that Dame Dash didn't even know this firsthand. Bleek said, Dame was never in the studio with us, so he wouldn't have a clue. And that's the part that makes this whole thing messy. Dame's throwing out claims he wasn't even around to witness. At this point, it feels like Dame Dash was just trying to push Bleek's buttons, and maybe it worked. But what he didn't expect was Bleek coming back with facts, energy, and calling out beans too. Let's talk about that history though, because Dame might have had other reasons to throw shots. Here's the thing a lot of folks don't want to talk about. Dame Dash might carry some low-key resentment towards Memphis Bleek. Not just over music, but over Bleek's loyalty to Jay-Z. Back when Rockefeller split, everybody had to choose a side. And Bleek, he stayed down with Jay-Z. See, Dame might have taken that personally. He saw Bleek as part of the family, someone he helped come up. But when the empire split, Bleek rode with Jay, no hesitation. And even though it's understandable from a business and loyalty standpoint, Dame might have seen it as betrayal. Let's not forget, Dame's been vocal for years saying that people chose sides when The Rock broke up, and he felt like a lot of them abandoned him. Bleek was one of the earliest members of the crew. He came in young, grew up under Jay-Z's wing, and then stayed loyal to Jay-Z all the way through. That's the kind of stuff Dame don't forget. So now fast forward to today. Dame sees Bleek winning off his legacy with Jay-Z, still connected to the Rock brand, still relevant through loyalty, and he might be looking at it like, that should have been my guy. That's why this ghostwriting claim feels like more than just a diss. It's resentment bubbling under the surface. Dame's basically saying, you weren't even that nice. Jay-Z wrote your bars. Translation, you didn't make it off talent. You made it because of Jay-Z. That's a deep insult in hip-hop. It questions your skill, your independence, and your credibility. But Bleek ain't just brushing that off. He said it loud and clear when he said, if Jay wrote my rhymes, I wouldn't be getting no publishing checks. Bleek is basically saying, hey, that's legal paper. Not speculation, not hearsay, but facts. And that publishing point, that's the part folks need to pay attention to. Because for an artist, publishing is where the money and the proof live. If your name is on the paperwork, you wrote it, period. So maybe Dame's hurt that Bleek didn't stay under his wing. And this ghostwriting claim is just how that bitterness is showing up. Let's take it back. Dame Dash had big plans for Memphis Bleek, especially in the early 2000s. Bleek was supposed to be next up, a prince of the rock. And for a while, it looked like that was happening. Bleek dropped Coming of Age, followed by The Understanding. He had that rock chain, that street image, and that loyalty. Everything you want in your young star. But here's the twist. Even though Bleek was positioned to win, he never really broke through like Dame Dash envisioned. And some of that, it had to do with his decision to stay in Jay-Z's shadow. See, Dame was trying to build a full roster. He wanted cats like Cameron, Beans, Bleek, Dipset, all operating with their own lanes. He didn't want everybody orbiting around Jay-Z, but Bleek always made it clear. He was loyal to Jay-Z first. Bleek said, Jay taught me about publishing. Now that's not just music, that's a mentorship and life game. So when Bleek didn't fully step into that independent spotlight, Dame might have felt like he was washed potential, like bet on Bleek. But Bleek stayed too close to Jay to shine on his own. And once the Rock split, Dame couldn't push Bleek the way he wanted to. That tension's been under the surface ever since. And real talk, Bleek's career never took off the way it could have. Not because he didn't have the bars, but because he was always playing that next to Jay-Z role instead of being that main guy. Dame probably looked at that like a missed opportunity and maybe even a slap in his face. So now, years later, Dame throws out that ghostwriting jab. It's like Dame is saying, you didn't blow up because you ain't got it like that. Jay made you. That's foul when you think about it. But in Dame's mind, that might just be the truth he's been holding back for years. But Bleek, he's not going out like that. He's standing on his name. And the next part of this story, man, it gets even crazier with Beanie Sigel. Now let's get to the part that really hurt Bleek. Beanie Sigel co-signing Dame Dash's ghostwriting story. That's what made Bleek really snap. Bleek said straight up, Beans is the main one that got me like, fam, you doing that much drugs you don't remember being in the studio with me? Now that's heavy. That's a man who feels betrayed right there. Bleek wasn't just defending his name. He was calling out a brother who he thought would never cross that line. According to Bleek, Beans was in the studio with him every single day. Bleek said, we spent 20 years in Baseline. So for Beanie to act like Bleek didn't write his own rhymes, that's not just fake. That's a slap to everything they've built together. Bleek even clowned the idea by saying, I saw a ghost once too. Basically saying, y'all acting like y'all saw something that never happened. But deeper than the jokes, Bleek seemed hurt. Hurt that somebody like Beans, who was in the trenches with him, would back up a narrative that paints him as some type of fraud. That ain't just hip-hop drama. That's personal. And you gotta remember, Beans and Bleek go way back. They helped put the rock on the map, side by side. So when Beans repeats something that sounds like a Dame Dash talking point, Bleek's looking at that like betrayal. And Bleek didn't hide it. Bleek said, we gotta get this settled. And that means there's still some real tension and maybe a conversation that needs to happen off camera, off podcast, and off wax. This ain't about some ghostwriter. This is about respect, legacy, and who really built what at Rockefeller Records. So now here we are. Dame Dash firing off ghostwriting claims, Beanie Sigel co-signing them, and Memphis Bleek stepping up like never before to defend his name. But at the heart of this whole situation, it's not just about bars. It's about respect, loyalty, and legacy. Bleek's not letting anybody rewrite his story. Not Dame, not Beans, and definitely not the internet. Bleek said it plain when he said, check the credits. My name's on the records. Now that's not just talk. That's receipts. And that's ownership. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Do you believe Bleek? Was Dame just being petty? And where does Beanie Sigel fit into all this? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.